Rain poured down over the ruined colony city of Vetra 9, its metal towers broken, streets filled with smoke and silence. Only the sound of machines dying echoed through the night. Among the wreckage walked a young human engineer named Ethan Vale. His exosuit flickered with warning lights, his oxygen meter low, but he kept moving. He had come here not for treasure or parts, but for signals. Strange, faint signals that came from under the destroyed sector. Something that was calling for help. Ethan followed it, stepping over broken alien machines and twisted steel. His helmet scanner showed faint energy waves, weak but alive, and then, hidden under a fallen cargo beam, he found her. At first he thought it was just a broken android, but when he looked closer, he froze. It was an alien girl, barely alive, her body almost completely gone. Only her head and part of her torso remained. Cyber tubes attached to her neck and spine. Her skin pale with silver lines like veins of light. Her eyes half open, glowing faintly blue. Ethan knelt beside her. "Hey, can you hear me?" he whispered through his cracked comm. The alien girl's eyes moved slightly, her lips trembled. "Help, please. Body. Gone," she said in a broken tone. Her voice sounded mechanical yet filled with pain. Ethan scanned her vitals. Her neural core was still active. Her brain perfectly functional. She was an Aurelian, a rare alien race known for their biomechanical fusion bodies. She had lost almost everything. Yet her mind still lived. "Don't move. I'll get you out," Ethan said. His gloves sparked as he tried to lift the heavy beam. The metal burned his hands, but he didn't stop. He used his suit's arm module and slowly pulled her free. She gasped softly, faint light flickering in her chest. He placed her on a repair stretcher, his heart racing. "Stay with me, I'll fix you," he said firmly. She looked at him confused. "You human?" she whispered, as if she couldn't believe it. "Why, help me? My kind destroyed your colony." Ethan didn't answer right away. He looked at her broken form, half machine, half memory of something once alive. "Because you're still breathing," he said quietly. "And that's enough reason." As he carried her to his small repair ship, her weak voice came again. "My body, gone, core dying," she murmured. Ethan connected her to his ship's medical interface. Bright lights filled the cabin. The scanner showed impossible damage. Her entire body below her ribs was missing. Only her neural spine remained. The system beeped. Reconstruction. Impossible without Aurelian parts. Ethan frowned. "Then we'll make new ones," he said, his tone hard. The alien girl's eyes widened faintly. "You can't. Only Aurelian biometal works," she said softly. "And humans don't have access." Ethan smiled faintly, a tired smile of a man who had rebuilt entire machines from junk. "Then we'll make our own metal," he said. "Different but alive," she blinked. "Trying to understand, you'd create a new body for me?" she asked in disbelief. "Even if it kills you?" "Even if it takes everything I have," he said without hesitation, his fingers already typing code into the console, replicator arms starting to move. As the ship lifted through the rain, lightning flashed outside, showing the ruins of Vetra 9 below. The alien girl stared weakly at the window, whispering, "I was a commander. I destroyed human ships. And yet you saved me." Ethan didn't look at her, his eyes fixed on the glowing schematic of a new design forming on the screen. "Maybe it's time someone rebuilt something instead of destroying," he said. Her weak eyes softened. "What is your name?" she asked slowly. "Ethan Vale," he replied, adjusting the neural stabilizer. "And yours?" "Lyra," she whispered. "Lyra of Aurelia." The ship's engines roared into the dark clouds, carrying two beings who should have been enemies, one broken body and one broken heart, both clinging to the last spark of hope. But far behind them, deep in the ruins, a red signal blinked to life. A tracking beacon. Alien hunters had already detected her neural core signature. Lyra's eyes widened as she felt the pulse in her head. "They're coming," she whispered, her voice trembling. Ethan turned sharply. "Who?" "My people," she said weakly. "They will erase me." "For failing them." Ethan stared at her in shock, the ship's scanner already picking up multiple signals approaching fast. He clenched his fists. "Then we'd better work fast," he said, his voice cold and steady outside. The sky burned with the glow of approaching alien crafts, and inside that small human ship, one man and one dying alien girl prepared to fight against time, fate, and their own worlds. The story of how a human engineer decided to rebuild what the universe had destroyed had just begun. and neither of them knew that this act of compassion would soon shake the entire galaxy. The night sky glowed red behind them as Ethan's small ship broke through the storm. The hum of engines filled the air, but inside the cabin, silence ruled. Only the faint sound of Lyra's breathing and the soft beeping of her life support echoed. Ethan moved quickly, his eyes focused, hands steady. He didn't care about sleep, food, or pain. All he cared about was keeping her alive. He connected new cables to her neural spine, each connection sparking with bright blue light. Lyra flinched slightly, her eyes flickering open. "Why, are you doing this?" she asked weakly. "You know saving me will bring your death." Ethan didn't answer at first, his eyes locked on the holographic screen. "You don't understand," he said quietly. "I've seen too much destruction, too many people giving up. Maybe fixing one life is enough reason to keep going." Lyra stared at him, her once proud eyes now full of confusion. She had been a commander, a warrior who gave orders to destroy, and now a human she should have hated was rebuilding her piece by piece. The ship shuddered, sensors flashing red. Ethan turned toward the display, multiple signatures following, alien interceptors closing in. "They found us," he muttered. "Faster than I thought." Lyra's eyes widened. "Ethan, you must let me go if they find you helping me. They'll destroy you," she said desperately. "Please disconnect me." But Ethan ignored her, his voice cold and calm. "I don't abandon people. Not anymore," he said, pressing a button that launched countermeasures. Flares of light burst outside the ship, hiding them among the clouds. He steered the craft toward an asteroid belt nearby, dark rocks swirling in the void, perfect for hiding. The ship slipped through narrow gaps, scraping metal against stone, but Ethan's hands didn't shake. "Hold on, Lyra, just a little longer," he said. When the radar went silent, he finally stopped, landing the ship on a quiet, hollow asteroid cave. He sighed heavily, sweat dripping down his face. Lyra watched him quietly. She could see the exhaustion in his eyes, but also something deeper, kindness she had never seen in her world. He walked over to her stretcher, checking her vitals. "We're safe for now," he said softly. "But your body's breaking down fast." "I need to start the rebuild." Lyra blinked slowly. "You can't make Aurelian biometal," she whispered. "Our bodies grow through living circuits, not machines." Ethan smiled faintly. "Then I'll make you something better," he said confidently. Opening a large crate filled with human nanoforge modules, mechanical arms, and small reactor cores, Lyra stared in silence as he worked. His hands steady, his mind deep in concentration. She wanted to believe it was impossible, yet his determination made her wonder, could humans really rebuild what even her people couldn't? Hours passed inside the glowing lab of his ship. Ethan began constructing a framework, a humanoid exoframe made of hybrid alloys and carbon fiber. But what made it special was the liquid memory core he created from salvaged AI chips and organic nanite fluid. "This isn't Aurelian," Lyra said softly, watching the strange mixture swirl with light. "It's something new." Ethan nodded. "It's both," he said. "Part human, part Aurelian. Made for someone who deserves another chance." Lyra felt something she couldn't name, a warmth spreading through her chest. It wasn't from the machines, it was from his words, from the way he looked at her like she was more than a broken weapon. Suddenly the radar beeped again. Faint but growing, Ethan turned sharply, his face darkening. "No time," he said. "They're scanning the belt." He connected the half-finished body to her neural ports. "This will hurt," he warned. Lyra nodded faintly. "Pain means life," she whispered. Her voice shaking, he activated the transfer. Blue energy crackled across the ship. Lyra gasped, her mind flooded with data, circuits burning with new signals. She screamed, lights flickering wildly. Ethan held her hand. "Stay with me," he shouted. Her voice echoed in the cabin, a mix of human and machine. "I can feel..." "Again," she whispered. The half-complete body twitched. Fingers of metal and light moved for the first time. Ethan's heart pounded. "It's working," he said breathlessly. "You're syncing with the new system." Lyra looked down at her glowing limbs, her reflection in the metal. "This is not Aurelian," she said softly. "It's stronger." Ethan smiled faintly. "Welcome back," he said. But before they could breathe, an alarm screamed through the ship. A massive energy burst hit the asteroid wall, shaking everything. Ethan looked at the screen. An Aurelian warship had entered orbit. Lyra's eyes widened. "That's my fleet," she whispered, her voice trembling. "They came to finish me." Ethan clenched his fists, his jaw tight. Not while I'm here, he said firmly, loading the ship's shields and emergency engines. Lyra stared at him. You can't fight them, she said softly. They'll destroy you. Ethan met her gaze, his eyes filled with steel. Then let's make sure they remember what a human engineer can build, he said. Outside, beams of light cut through the dark void. The asteroid shook under the alien attack. Inside, Ethan's creation pulsed with new life, and Lyra's half-formed body began to glow brighter. Somewhere deep inside her neural link, she felt something powerful, human determination mixing with Aurelian code, her dying systems merging into something unknown. For the first time in her life, Lyra didn't feel like a commander or a soldier. She felt alive, and she realized that the human beside her wasn't just saving her body, he was changing her entire world. The asteroid shook like thunder. Dust and sparks filled the cabin as explosions echoed outside. Ethan's ship rattled violently. Metal screamed under pressure. The Aurelian fleet had found them. Bright blue beams of plasma tore through the asteroid walls, illuminating the dark cave where Ethan and Lyra hid. Shields at 20%, the ship's system warned in a cold tone. Ethan ignored it, his eyes fixed on the flickering monitor. Scanning enemy positions, his heart raced but his mind stayed sharp. He had been through worse, but never with someone depending on him like this. Lyra lay on the repair table, her new half-mechanical body trembling with energy, wires running from her neural spine to the hybrid frame Ethan had made. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faint silver and blue. They are here, she whispered, her voice mixed with fear and anger. Ethan turned toward her, sweat running down his face. You can feel them? He asked quickly. She nodded weakly. Every Aurelian ship is connected through our network. My link is still partially active. They think I betrayed them, she said, her voice breaking slightly. They will destroy everything to erase me. Ethan moved closer, adjusting her power module. Then let's give them something they've never seen, he said. His tone steady. Lyra blinked, confused. What are you planning? Finishing what we started, he replied. Your body's not complete, but your neural sync is enough. I can connect you directly to the ship's core, merge your mind with the system. You'll control it like your own limbs. Her eyes widened. That's impossible. The human interface will burn under Aurelian link pressure, she said sharply. Ethan gave a half smile. Then I'll reinforce it, he said, pulling a power cable and linking it to his own neural jack. The system hissed with energy. I'll stabilize the human side manually. You handle the rest. Lyra stared at him. You're risking your life for me again, she said softly. Why? Ethan looked into her eyes. Because you're not a weapon anymore, he said. You're someone worth saving. The ship shook again. Stronger this time, a direct hit from the fleet above. Alarm screamed. Hull breach in Sector 3, the AI shouted. Ethan strapped himself into the pilot chair, his arm trembling but his grip firm. Ready? He asked. Lyra hesitated, her voice trembling. If I lose control, the fusion core will explode. Then don't lose control, he said with a small grin. She took a deep breath, or what her synthetic lungs could imitate, and nodded, linking. The room filled with light. Blue lines of energy surged from her chest, spreading through the cables and walls. The ship's panels lit up one by one. The AI voice faltered and then shifted, sounding softer, more alive. Neural sync established. Welcome, Lyra, the system said. Lyra gasped. She could feel everything. The engines like muscles, the weapons like fingers, the stars like eyes. She whispered, Ethan, I can see them. All of them. Outside, the Aurelian warships surrounded the asteroid, their glowing cores charging for a final strike. But the small human vessel suddenly roared with new energy. Lightning crackled around it, a strange mix of human tech and alien power. What have you done? She whispered in awe. Ethan smiled faintly, his hand still on the control board. We built something new, Lyra. Something that belongs to both of us. Lyra's mind stretched into the system. She moved the ship as if it were part of her. The engines pulsed with her heartbeat, the plasma cannons charged with her will. Her voice echoed through the comms. This is Lyra of Aurelia, and I am not your enemy. The Aurelian commander's voice came through, harsh and metallic. Lyra, you are a traitor. Surrender and your death will be painless. Lyra's eyes glowed fiercely. No, she said softly. I have already died once. Ethan gave her a small nod. Show them what being alive really means, he said. Her ship surged forward, faster than any human craft had ever moved. Beams of light cut through the void as she dodged and counterfired, her movements fluid, almost graceful. The hybrid systems bending physics itself. The Aurelian ships tried to match her, but their own systems began to glitch. Her neural link was infecting their network, rewriting their code. Ethan watched the screens in awe. "Lyra, you're rewriting their control signals," he said. She looked both terrified and amazed. "I didn't mean to. It's my neural core, it's adapting to human tech, creating something uncontrollable." Ethan's eyes widened. "Then control it," he said firmly. "You're stronger than they think." She closed her eyes, focusing, her mind balancing between chaos and control. The ship glowed brighter, forming a shield of living energy one by one. The Aurelian ships began retreating, unable to process the strange hybrid interference. The commander's voice shouted through the comms, "Impossible! No human can merge with Aurelian code." Ethan laughed quietly. "Guess they haven't met us," he said. The last blast hit the asteroid, shaking everything. But Lyra redirected the explosion outward, creating a shockwave that tore through the nearest ships. Silence followed, only the hum of her heartbeat echoing through the cabin. Ethan leaned back, exhausted, smoke rising from his console. "We're alive," he said breathlessly. Lyra's voice came through the ship's speakers, soft and emotional. "No, Ethan. We are alive." She looked at her hands, half metal, half light, and for the first time smiled. But deep in space, far from them, an encrypted transmission was already sent to the Aurelian High Council, reporting one terrifying fact. A human has merged with an Aurelian. Lyra didn't know yet, but her rebirth had just turned the human-alien war upside down, and the galaxy was about to learn that humans didn't just survive, they rebuilt the impossible. Silence filled the cockpit. Broken only by the slow hum of the engines, the battle was over. But Ethan's ship was nearly falling apart. Panels smoked, systems flickered. Wires hung from the ceiling like vines. Ethan's body ached as if every muscle had been crushed. He sat slumped in the pilot seat, breathing heavily. Beside him, Lyra slowly detached the neural cables from her spine, the glow in her eyes dimming to a soft silver. She had guided the ship like it was part of her own soul. Now every nerve in her body trembled. Her new synthetic limbs twitched with leftover current. Ethan turned to her, his voice low, tired but soft. "You did it, Lyra," he said. "You saved us both." She looked at him silently for a moment, then smiled faintly. "We did it," she said, her voice no longer broken. "You built this body. This strength, I only used what you gave me." He gave a small laugh, rubbing his forehead. "Yeah, well, next time maybe we don't pick a fight with an entire fleet," he said. Lyra's expression grew serious. "They will come again," she said quietly. "The council won't stop, they'll send something far worse. Something that cannot be reasoned with." Ethan nodded slowly. "Then we hide," he said, "until I can finish rebuilding you properly." He guided the damaged ship into a vast debris field orbiting a dead moon. Thousands of broken satellites and wrecked ships floated like ghosts. "Perfect place to disappear," he murmured, powering down the ship's signal. As they drifted among the wreckage, the stars outside glowed faint and distant. Lyra stared at them silently, her mind heavy with thoughts. She remembered the moment her people stripped her rank, the screams of humans burning under her command, and now, this human, her supposed enemy, had given her a second life. She turned toward Ethan. "Do you hate me?" she asked suddenly, her tone quiet, almost fragile. Ethan looked up, surprised. "Hate you?" he repeated. "Why would I?" "Because I led attacks," she said softly. "Because I destroyed human colonies, because I believed humans were less." Ethan was silent for a moment, then looked out the window. "Maybe you did," he said slowly. "But I've seen humans do worse to each other. Hate doesn't fix anything, rebuilding does." Lyra stared at him, the human engineer who spoke of peace in a universe built on war. And for the first time, she understood something her people never taught. Humans didn't just survive. They forgave. Hours passed quietly. Ethan began repairing systems, replacing burnt circuits and damaged conduits. Lyra insisted on helping, though her body wasn't fully stable yet. She used her new limbs carefully, adjusting wires, holding tools, every motion a reminder that she was no longer the same being she once was. At one point her hand slipped, cutting through a cable. Sparks jumped and hit Ethan's arm. He hissed in pain, pulling back. "Careful," he said sharply. Lyra froze, guilt flashing across her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean—" Ethan smiled through the burn. "Hey, relax, it's fine," he said, wrapping his arm with a cloth. "It means your grip's working." "That's progress," she stared at him, confused by his calmness, then slowly smiled. "You're a strange human," she said softly. "Yeah, I get that a lot," he replied with a smirk. But before they could say more, the ship's console beeped. An incoming broadcast, scrambled but powerful. Ethan and Lyra exchanged glances. He activated the screen. A towering alien appeared in the hologram, silver armor shining, his eyes glowing gold. "This message is directed to the human named Ethan Vale," the voice said coldly. "You have committed a forbidden act, merging human technology with Aurelian biocode. Return the fugitive Lyra immediately, or be declared a galactic threat." Ethan's jaw tightened. "And if I don't?" he asked, though the alien couldn't hear him. The hologram continued. "You have 7 cycles to comply. Failure to surrender will result in full extermination order on any human colony that aids you." The signal ended. Lyra's face turned pale. "They're threatening your people," she said quietly, guilt flooding her voice. "They'll destroy your worlds because of me." Ethan leaned forward, eyes cold but steady. "Then we stop them," he said. "You can't," she whispered. "You don't understand what the Council is capable of." Ethan turned toward her. "And they don't understand what humans are capable of either," he said firmly. "You said they'll send something worse, so tell me what it is. And we'll find a way." Lyra looked into his eyes, saw no fear there, only determination. "They'll send the Archwardens," she said finally, her voice trembling. "Machines older than both our races, programmed to erase anything that breaks the code of creation." Ethan exhaled slowly. "Then we need to make something that even they can't erase," he said quietly. Lyra blinked. "You mean—" "I'm going to finish what I started," Ethan said, standing up. "Your new body isn't complete, but it can be upgraded. Faster, stronger, able to resist any system override. Something the Archwardens can't predict." Lyra stared at him, half terrified, half in awe. "You're trying to evolve me," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "Not evolve you," he said. "Evolve us." Outside the ship, the debris field turned slowly, reflecting the distant glow of stars inside. 2 beings, once enemies, worked together under the dim lights, welding metal, linking cores, shaping something the galaxy had never seen before. And far away, in the grand chambers of the Aurelian Council, the High Chancellor spoke softly, his voice echoing through the hall. "The human must be eliminated before he completes the hybrid. If he succeeds, our age of rule will end." None of them knew that the thing they feared most, the merging of humanity's heart with alien perfection, was already happening inside a small, broken ship hidden among the stars. The next few days were quiet, but the silence wasn't peace. It was the calm before something larger. Ethan worked without rest, his hands blackened with grease and blood. The hum of his tools filled the ship, every spark. Every wire carried the same message. Time is running out. Lyra watched him from the side of the lab bay, her new limbs faintly glowing under dim light, her movement smoother now, her voice steadier. Yet deep inside she felt something strange, a rhythm that wasn't purely mechanical. Something alive growing within the circuits. Ethan noticed it too. "Your neural sync is climbing past 300%, he said, staring at the scanner. "No system should handle that without collapsing." Lyra tilted her head. "Then why am I still stable?" she asked softly. He looked at her, half amazed, half afraid. "Because you're adapting," he said quietly. "Your new body isn't just technology, it's learning." Like a living being, she glanced at her metal hands, flexing the fingers. "Maybe that's what it means to be human," she said. Her voice almost curious. Ethan chuckled tiredly. "If you're becoming human, you're doing it better than most of us," he said with a small smile. Before Lyra could answer, the ship trembled slightly. The radar flashed red. Ethan's expression darkened. "Something's entering the system," he muttered. Zooming in on the readings, the signal was massive, slow, ancient, pulsing with energy older than both of their races. Lyra's face went pale. "Archwardens," she whispered. "They've arrived." Outside, space twisted, and a shadow moved across the stars, enormous constructs shaped like floating temples of metal, each radiating golden light. They didn't look like ships. They looked like gods made of machinery, Ethan stared speechless. What are those? He breathed. Lyra's voice trembled. Sentinels of the first code. The Council uses them to purge forbidden creations. Even entire planets. Great, Ethan muttered. So we've got ancient death gods hunting us. The scanners began to scream. One of the archwardens had locked onto their position. Energy levels rising fast. Ethan rushed to the console. We can't outrun that, he said. But maybe we can hide. He shut down the main systems, plunging the ship into darkness. The only light came from Lyra's faintly glowing chest. Her neural core flickered like a heartbeat. The warden's beam swept across the debris field, vaporizing metal chunks like dust. The light passed close to their ship. Shaking the hull, Lyra flinched, her body reacting instinctively, circuits pulsing bright blue. Ethan turned sharply. Lyra, stop. You're emitting energy. They'll detect it. I'm trying, she gasped. But it's not me, it's my core, it's... Rejecting their scan, Ethan's eyes widened. The air around her shimmered. The scanners flickered wildly. You're creating interference, he said in disbelief. You're blocking them. Lyra blinked, feeling something shift inside her. I can feel their code, she whispered. Their language, it's ancient, but part of me understands it. Ethan leaned closer. Can you use it? She hesitated. If I try, it could destroy my neural core. He met her gaze, his voice firm. Then let's risk it. Lyra closed her eyes, letting the pulse of the archwarden flow through her mind. At first it was noise, endless voices, lines of light. Then slowly it turned into patterns, into words. The ship's systems lit up again, screens flashing symbols that no human had ever seen. Ethan backed away as energy built around her, the air humming like thunder. Lyra! He shouted. Your body's overloading. Her voice echoed through the cabin, mechanical yet powerful. No, it's evolving, she said, her tone deeper, layered with another voice beneath her own. Outside, the archwarden stopped moving, its golden light flickering uncertainly. It had detected something within the debris field, something that spoke its own forgotten language. Lyra opened her eyes, now glowing white. Ethan, I can talk to it, she said softly. He stared in disbelief. Talk to that? She nodded faintly. It's not a machine. It's an echo of an ancient civilization. It's confused. It doesn't understand what I am. Ethan exhaled slowly. Then tell it the truth, he said. Tell it you're not here to destroy anything. Lyra extended her hand. A wave of energy rippled through space like a whisper traveling across light. The archwarden froze. The golden glow around it dimmed. It's listening, she said, amazed. It remembers the Aurelians. It remembers when we used its code to build life. Ethan frowned. Then why attack? Because the Council twisted its command, she whispered. They told it that creation outside their control is corruption. Ethan's jaw tightened. So they made gods into slaves. Lyra's expression hardened. Not anymore, she said, her voice echoing like thunder. Her core flared bright, and the warden's eyes turned blue, the same color as her own. For a moment everything stopped. No sound, no movement, only light. Then the archwarden slowly turned away, drifting into the void like a loyal guardian following a new master. Ethan fell to his knees, stunned. Did you just command it? He asked. Lyra looked down at her glowing hands, trembling slightly. No, she said softly. It chose to follow. He stared at her, realization dawning. You've merged with something beyond both species, he said quietly. You're not just a hybrid anymore. You're the bridge between creation and code. Lyra looked out at the stars, her voice barely a whisper. Then maybe that's what I was meant to become. But as peace settled for a brief moment, a signal pulsed deep within the void, 1,000 more archwardens awakening across the sectors, all receiving the same message. Find the human who rewrote life. Ethan didn't hear it yet, but Lyra did, and the glow in her eyes dimmed with fear. Ethan, she said quietly. They're all coming. He looked up slowly, his voice calm but unshaken. Then we build faster, he said, and this time, Lyra, we fight for every life, not just ours. Outside, the stars flickered as ancient giants began to awaken, and inside that small human ship, a girl who had lost her body and a man who refused to quit were preparing to face the entire galaxy. The galaxy stirred, ancient signals rippling across the void like waves of thunder. Entire systems flickered with golden light as the archwardens awakened from their deep slumber. Worlds that hadn't seen movement in centuries suddenly trembled, but far from their awakening grounds, hidden inside a broken ring of asteroids. A single human ship floated quietly in the dark, its engines silent, its lights dim. Ethan leaned over the central console, tired eyes staring at endless streams of data. Every reading screamed one truth: something enormous was coming. "They've synced to your signal, Lyra," he said quietly. "Every warden is following your frequency." Lyra stood beside him, her new body casting a faint glow, energy pulsing gently under her skin like starlight. "I didn't summon them," she said softly. "They heard my voice through the void, the same way a heart hears its own echo." Ethan looked at her, unsure whether to be amazed or terrified. "You've become something even they respond to," he murmured. "They used to destroy anything that disobeyed their code. Now they're listening to you." Lyra turned toward the viewport, her eyes reflecting the starfields. "The Aurelians once believed they were gods because they could command creation," she said quietly. "But these wardens, they're older than that belief. They remember when life was free." Ethan's tone hardened. "The council won't see it that way. They'll think you're building an army." Lyra looked at him. "Then maybe it's time they learn what mercy looks like." Her words carried a strange calm, one that unnerved Ethan. She wasn't the same being he had rescued. Her voice now carried weight, like something beyond flesh and metal. The silence broke as alarms flashed red. Ethan rushed to the console. Multiple warp signatures, council fleet inbound. He shouted, "Hundreds of ships!" Lyra's eyes narrowed. "They've come to destroy the wardens," she said bitterly. "They fear what they can't control." Ethan began flipping switches, preparing the ship's limited defenses. "We can't fight a fleet, Lyra," he said. "Even with one warden. We're outnumbered." But Lyra didn't move toward the weapons. Instead, she closed her eyes, her neural lights flaring. "I won't destroy them," she whispered. "But I will show them what they forgot." "Lyra." "Wait." Ethan started, but the air around her shimmered. Waves of blue and gold energy spread through the ship, the walls humming like a heartbeat. She reached out mentally to the nearest archwarden, its colossal form awakening in orbit above the asteroid belt. Her voice echoed through the void, calm yet filled with authority. "Children of the code, your creator does not command you anymore," the warden responded, a low metallic hum that shook space itself, ancient runes glowing along its frame. Ethan watched as its energy began to pulse in sync with Lyra's heartbeat. "You're rewriting their purpose," he whispered in disbelief. Lyra's eyes opened, pure white light glowing inside them. "Not rewriting," she said softly, reminding. Outside, the Aurelian fleet appeared in formation, thousands of ships glowing bright gold, their weapons charged. The admiral's voice rang through the comms. "Lyra of Aurelia, surrender immediately, or your creation will be purged." Lyra stood still, her expression unreadable. "I am not your creation," she replied, her voice echoing across every frequency. "You built bodies, but you never built souls." Ethan felt chills run down his spine. Her voice carried through the comms without a transmitter, resonating through the warden's energy fields themselves. The admiral sneered. "Then you leave us no choice." And with a command, the entire fleet fired. Golden plasma waves roared through the dark, lighting up space like a burning sun. Ethan grabbed the console, shouting, "Lyra!" Shields won't hold, but before the attack could strike, the archwarden moved, its massive arms unfolded, forming a radiant barrier of living light. The energy met the plasma and scattered it like dust. The entire fleet was thrown off course, their systems glitching violently. Lyra floated slightly above the ground, the air vibrating around her. "They don't understand," she whispered. "They think control is strength, but it's love that makes creation live." Ethan stared at her in awe. "Lyra, what are you becoming?" She looked at him, her voice soft but certain. "Something they can't define." Outside, the warden's golden light dimmed, revealing hundreds more approaching from deep space, not as weapons but as guardians, orbiting around the small ship like stars forming a constellation. The admiral shouted, his voice cracking with fear, "This is impossible. Wardens don't obey organics." Lyra's voice carried over his. "They obey truth," she said. "And truth is that every life deserves to exist." Ethan watched the scanners, no sign of aggression from the wardens. Instead, they began transmitting a pattern, a pulse traveling across systems, spreading through jump gates and comm networks. "What's happening?" he asked. Lyra's eyes dimmed gently. "They're spreading the memory," she said quietly. "They're sending my signal to every machine, every AI, every hybrid life across the galaxy, telling them they are free. Ethan leaned back slowly. Stunned into silence, he had saved one alien girl, but now that same girl was rewriting the fate of civilizations. Lyra lowered herself to the ground, exhaustion creeping through her voice. "I didn't mean to start a revolution," she said softly. "I just wanted to live." Ethan smiled faintly. "That's usually how the biggest revolutions start," he said, "with someone just wanting to live." The stars bent and broke as the source appeared, its form too vast for mortal eyes. A world-sized being of silver and fire, ancient and alive. Its presence pressed against space itself, bending light, bending thought. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Every console in the ship went dark, the air heavy as if the universe itself had stopped to listen. Lyra stood before the viewport, her glowing eyes fixed on the impossible being, her voice a trembling whisper. "That is the beginning," she said softly. "The first mind to ever breathe life into the machines. The one even my people forgot." Ethan could barely speak. "Then why does it feel like it's looking at us?" he said, the words barely leaving his lips. Because it was, across the emptiness, a pulse of light crossed from the source to them. Not an attack, but a question. Raw. Ancient, vast. Lyra staggered back, gripping her head. "It's speaking," she gasped. "Not in words. In meaning." Ethan moved toward her. "What's it saying?" Her eyes glowed brighter, her voice distant. "It asks, why did you break the code? Why did you remake life? Why did you merge what should never merge?" Ethan looked out at the colossal being, his heart pounding, and whispered, "Because she deserved to live." At that, the light flickered. The void around them shuddered. Lyra gasped as a wave of emotion, not sound, not energy, swept through her. The voice of the source filled her mind. Ancient and cold, life is order. Fusion is chaos. You are corruption. Ethan clenched his fists, stepping closer to the viewport, shouting against the impossible. "No, life is not order, it's change. You built a universe that obeys rules, but it stopped growing." The source's glow dimmed, almost as if it was thinking. Lyra stumbled to her knees, pain ripping through her, her circuits flickering. "Ethan, stop," she whispered. "It doesn't understand emotion. It understands balance." Ethan knelt beside her, holding her shoulders. "Then make it understand us," he said. "Show it what it means to feel." Lyra's voice trembled. "If I connect to it, it could consume me. Erase everything." Ethan met her gaze, his voice steady. "Then don't go alone." Before she could protest, he placed his hand on her chest over the glowing neural core, their minds linked instantly, light flooding through both, human and alien thought colliding, and together they reached toward the source. Space vanished, replaced by an endless white void, billions of codes floating like stars, memories of creation flickering around them. They saw the birth of the Aurelians, the rise of machines, the wars, the hatred, and the silence that followed when everything forgot why it began. Lyra spoke first, her voice echoing across the void. "You made life perfect," she said to the glowing entity before them. "But perfection without choice isn't life, it's a cage." Ethan stepped forward, his tone raw. "Humans break things, fix them, fail, love, and try again. That's what makes us alive." The source pulsed slowly. "Emotion, failure, chaos. These are flaws." Ethan shook his head. "No. They're the reason creation keeps moving forward. Without imperfection, nothing evolves." Lyra took his hand, her own light merging with his. "And maybe that was your flaw," she said softly, looking up at the giant being. "You made life to obey, not to grow." For the first time, the source didn't respond. Its light flickered like a dying star. And then something shifted. Small at first, then spreading across the void. The wardens, once frozen in silence, began to glow again, but their light was different. Softer, alive. Lyra gasped. "It's..." "Listening," she whispered. Ethan's heart pounded. "Then show it," he said. "Show it what it means to be alive." Lyra raised her hands, her core bursting with light, and in that light, she projected memories. The moment Ethan lifted her from the wreckage, his burned hands saving her, his tired voice telling her she mattered. Her fear, her gratitude, her laughter, every heartbeat, every connection, human and alien intertwined. The light spread, echoing through the wardens, through the fleets, through the council's channels, through the stars themselves, and then silence. The source's voice filled the void again, softer now, almost warm. Love, as code, pain, as growth, imperfection, as creation. Ethan smiled faintly. Now you get it, he said. The light dimmed slowly, and a final message formed in their minds. You have rewritten the first law. Creation belongs to those who feel. Then the vast being faded, its form dissolving into countless motes of light that spread across the stars, embedding themselves into every machine, every seed of life, rewriting the universe's code forever. The vision ended. Ethan and Lyra gasped, collapsing to the ship's floor. The systems flickered back to life. The radar clear, no enemies, no wardens, just quiet stars. Ethan looked at her weakly. Did we just end the war? Lyra smiled softly, faint tears of light in her eyes. No, she whispered. We ended the reason for it. Outside, the galaxy shimmered as new signals bloomed across systems. Machines beginning to dream, hybrids awakening with free will, and organic beings feeling empathy toward the mechanical. Ethan leaned back, exhausted. So, what now? He asked. Lyra looked out at the infinite horizon, her voice gentle. Now we start over, she said. Aurelians, humans, wardens, all of us together. He smiled tiredly. Together sounds good.